In 1927, a single electron was fired at two slits in a metal barrier. What showed up on the screen behind it should have been impossible. And when physicists tried to figure out what was happening when they put a detector at the slits to watch the electron pass through, the impossible result vanished. The electron changed its behavior because someone was looking at it. I need you to understand what that means. A particle, a piece of matter smaller than anything you can see, smaller than anything you can imagine, altered what it did based on whether information about it existed, not whether a human saw it, whether the information was available at all. The universe itself responded to knowledge. This experiment has been repeated thousands of times over nearly 100 years, with electrons, with photons, with atoms, with molecules containing 60 carbon atoms. The result never changes. And no one, not Feynman, not Bohr, not Einstein, not a single physicist in the history of the human race has been able to fully explain why it happens. Today I am going to walk you through this experiment step by step. You will see exactly what happens. You will see why every explanation fails. And by the end, you will understand why Feynman called this the one experiment that contains the entire mystery of quantum mechanics, the only mystery. The one that, once you truly understand it, changes what you think reality is. But first, I need to show you something ordinary so that the extraordinary part hits you like a freight train. Pick up a handful of pebbles and throw them at a wall with two narrow openings. Some pebbles go through the left opening. Some go through the right. They hit the back wall and leave marks. Two clusters, one behind each opening. This is obvious. This is boring. This is exactly what objects are supposed to do. Now do the same thing with water waves. Something completely different happens. A wave rolls toward the wall. It passes through both openings at the same time. On the other side, the waves from each opening spread out and collide. Where two peaks meet, they build up into a bigger wave. Where a peak meets a trough, they cancel each other out. Nothing. What shows up on the back wall is not two clusters. It is a striped pattern, alternating bands. Strong wave, no wave. Strong wave, no wave. Strong wave, no wave. This pattern has a name, interference pattern. And here is the one fact I need you to lock into your memory. This pattern is impossible for particles to produce. Only waves create interference. No pebble, no bullet, no grain of sand, only waves. Remember that, because what comes next should keep you awake tonight. Back to 1927. Physicists set up the real experiment. An electron gun fires one electron at a time toward a thin barrier with two parallel slits. Behind the barrier sits a detection screen that records where each electron lands. Every time an electron hits the screen, it makes a single dot. One electron, one dot. Definite, precise. Unambiguously a particle. Now they run a simple test. Close the right slit. Leave only the left slit open. Fire thousands of electrons one at a time. The dots accumulate into a single cluster directly behind the open slit. Exactly what particles should do. No surprise, no mystery. Close the left slit. Open the right one. Same result. One cluster behind the open slit. Perfectly normal. Now open both slits. If electrons are particles and every individual test says they are, then the pattern with both slits open should be simple. Two clusters, one behind each slit. The combined pattern should just be the sum of the two single slit patterns. Left cluster plus right cluster. Basic logic. That is not what happens. With both slits open, the dots do not form two clusters. Over thousands of electrons fired one at a time, with only one electron in the apparatus at any moment. The dots arrange themselves into an interference pattern. Stripes, bands, alternating regions of high concentration, and regions where almost no electrons land. Mathematically identical to the pattern produced by waves, passing through two openings, identical, down to the exact spacing between the bands. Let me make absolutely certain you feel the weight of this. Each electron was fired alone. There was only one electron in the entire apparatus at a time. There was nothing for it to interfere with. No other electron was present. No wave was visible. And yet each individual electron, landing as a definite dot on a definite spot, somehow knew to avoid certain areas and prefer others, as if it had interfered with something. The only thing it could have interfered with is itself. One electron went through both slits at the same time, not a wave of electrons, not a beam, one single electron through both slits simultaneously, creating a pattern that only waves produce, while landing as a particle. This is not a small anomaly. This is not a quirk at the edge of physics. This demolishes the most basic assumption we carry about reality, that things are in definite places, that an object is either here or there, that the world at its foundation is made of stuff that behaves in ways that make sense. The double-slit experiment says no. At the deepest level, the world does not make sense. Not in any way you have been trained to think, and what I am about to show you next makes it worse, much worse. Physicists in the early days had a reasonable hope. Maybe the electron really does go through one slit or the other. Maybe we just cannot tell which one. Maybe our instruments are too crude. Maybe it is doing something perfectly ordinary and we are simply unable to track it. If we could just watch the electron, catch it in the act of passing through one specific slit, we would see that it is a normal particle, doing normal particle things. So they watched. They placed a detector at the slits, a tiny device that would register which slit each electron actually passed through. Every electron went through one slit or the other, never both. Perfectly sensible, perfectly normal, exactly what a particle should do. And the interference pattern on the screen vanished, gone completely. The stripes disappeared. The pattern collapsed into two ordinary clusters, one behind each slit. The moment anyone looked, the electron stopped behaving like a wave and started behaving like a particle. Stop. Read that again. When nobody watches, the electron goes through both slits and creates an interference pattern. When somebody watches, it picks one slit and the pattern disappears. The electron behaves differently depending on whether information about its path exists. How does it know? How does an electron know that a detector is watching? The detector does not touch it, does not push it, does not block either slit, does not change the geometry of the experiment in any meaningful way. All the detector does is create a record, a piece of information. Which slit did this electron use? And that information, that knowledge, that mere fact of a record existing somewhere in the universe is enough to destroy the interference pattern. The information itself changes reality. Now you might think there is a simple explanation. Maybe the detector physically disturbs the electron. Maybe detecting it gives it a tiny kick that disrupts the delicate interference. This sounds reasonable. It was the first objection raised. But experiments over decades have used increasingly gentle detection methods, methods so delicate that the physical disturbance is negligible, practically zero. The result is always the same. Any method, no matter how gentle, no matter how indirect, that produces which path information kills the interference. It is not the physical disturbance. Physicists have confirmed this over and over. It is the information. If which path information exists anywhere, even if nobody looks at it, even if the data sits in a computer that nobody ever opens, the interference pattern disappears. The universe does not care whether you personally see the information. It cares whether the information exists. If that disturbs you, what comes next should be impossible, not difficult, not unlikely, impossible. And yet it has been confirmed in laboratories around the world multiple times. It is called the quantum eraser experiment, and it reveals something about the nature of time that most physicists prefer not to discuss openly. In this experiment, which path information is collected at the slits, as expected, the interference pattern disappears, normal, consistent with everything we have seen so far. But then, after the electrons have already hit the screen, after the dots have already landed, after the experiment is effectively over, the which path information is erased, destroyed, made permanently unrecoverable, and the interference pattern comes back. I need you to sit with that for a moment. The electrons have already arrived. The dots are on the screen. The physical events are in the past, and yet erasing information after the fact changes the pattern. Now, the individual dots do not move. That would be truly insane. What happens is subtler, but equally disturbing. When you sort the data, when you separate the electrons into two groups based on whether their which path information was preserved or erased, the erased group shows a perfect interference pattern. The preserved group shows two plane clusters. The pattern was hidden in the combined data all along, waiting for a future decision to reveal it. A decision made after the experiment determines what the data shows. The future reaches back and shapes the past, not in a way that lets you send messages backward through time, not in a way that violates causality in the simple sense, but in a way that is undeniable, experimentally verified, and completely inexplicable within any framework that treats time as a simple one-way arrow from past to future. Now, three groups of brilliant physicists looked at all of this and proposed three different explanations. Each one saves something, each one sacrifices something, and each one is more disturbing than the last. The first explanation came from Niels Bohr and Werner Heisenberg in the 1920s. It is called the Copenhagen interpretation, and it is the one most physicists default to when they do not want to think too hard about foundations. Copenhagen says the wave function is not a real physical thing. It is a mathematical tool for calculating probabilities. Before measurement, the electron does not have a definite path. It is meaningless to ask which slit it went through. The question itself is invalid, like asking what is north of the North Pole. There is no answer because there is no valid question. When a measurement occurs, the wave function collapses. The electron picks a state. Reality snaps into focus. Before the measurement, there was no reality to speak of. This works. It gives correct predictions for every single experiment ever performed, but it requires you to accept something extraordinary, that the physical world at its most fundamental level is not fully real until it is observed. That asking what an electron does when nobody is watching is like asking what a dream looks like when nobody is dreaming it. The question has no answer because the thing you are asking about does not exist until the act of asking brings it into existence. If that explanation satisfies you, the next one will unsettle you. And if the next one makes sense to you, the third will make you question your own sanity. The second explanation came from Hugh Everett in 1957. It is called the many worlds interpretation. Everett looked at the same mathematics and came to a radically different conclusion. The wave function is real, completely real. The electron genuinely goes through both slits. When a measurement occurs, the universe does not collapse to one outcome. It splits. In one branch of reality, the electron went through the left slit. In another branch, it went through the right slit. Both branches are equally real. Both continue to exist. You simply find yourself in one of them. There is no collapse, no mystery about observation, no special role for measurement. Everything that can happen does happen, somewhere, in some branch of an endlessly splitting, endlessly multiplying multiverse. The price of this explanation is staggering. Every quantum interaction, and there are trillions happening every second in your body alone, splits the universe into new branches. The total number of parallel realities is not just large, it is beyond any number that has meaning. More branches than atoms in the observable universe. More copies of you than stars in every galaxy combined. Each one is real. Each one is experiencing a slightly different version of this exact moment. You are sitting here right now in one branch. In another branch, you clicked on a different video. In another, you never opened YouTube. In another, you were never born. All equally real, all happening right now. All are completely undetectable from each other. That is what it costs to save reality from the measurement problem. An infinity of invisible parallel universes. So to save reality, we had to invent an infinite number of invisible worlds.